so that you can go back to look at it, or even just skim through the recordings transcript. That way you don't have to spend too much time. If you forgot something or whatever, you can find that.
What if I fall asleep?
Well, I will still record it, so you will have the recording of.
That's what I'm saying.
If you snore, then that's okay. You know what I'm saying? So, I like your sense of humor, so we'll be perfectly fine. Okay, so in your case, currently you don't have a job, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you don't, what do you call it? So you don't have a separate business other than the Amazon business. Is that correct in understanding?
I do.
Okay, tell me more.
I have my own software.
Okay.
A custom software for Amazon.
Okay.
I only have one client currently that is using it. That's a past employer of mine. Beginning, I only gave him my software because on consulting basis. Then afterwards, I went to work for him. First, it was only for 4 months. And then I stayed there for almost probably over a year, a little bit more than a year. And then it came up this new opportunity, which I needed to get to be a partner with the boss that I was with. That's when I left that company.
But he trusts you enough.
So he still has, in other words, he still has my software. So he's still using my software and still using my services.
And he's paying you for it?
He's paying me $2,500 a month.
Okay.
Plus, if there's any custom add-ons that he wants, then it's usually around, or I would charge him on a project base or an hourly base.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So anyway, so let's take a look at this that I have in front of me. So let me just open up the screen here, because I want to go a little bit more into specifics with this. Okay. So the first thing is, why is this project your focus? Why not any other project? Why specifically this project?
Okay.
Why is that? Tell me. I mean, it says financial stability and everything else, but you could be doing so many things. Why are you focused on this project?
On this particular one?
Correct.
Because after working for so many years with other Amazon sellers, that's my expertise. That field is my expertise. And number two is I do feel a great potential in succeeding. Okay.
So you have a lot of hopes, aspirations, and your sense of that it can actually deliver the value to other people, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So are you looking to sell the software to people, or are you looking to create your own services through Amazon to be sold?
No. So what I want now is, till now, I try to sell my services to other people. In other words, give them my software and do their company management of setting up their company. By now, I don't want to do that. I want to have my own Amazon account and use my own software for my own company.
Okay. And what do you need to be able to make money from that?
What I need is I need more capital to be able to buy more inventory eventually. And number two is I need to be able to support myself till the company is going to start making money.
Correct. So I get it. So what you are saying to me is, without a significant investment, you cannot actually create inventory and then sell from that. Am I right in understanding that?
So in other words, if I would have been able to support myself for the next, let's say 18 months, 12 to 18 months, then it would not be such a problem to invest, to succeed, as I already bought a good $150,000-$160,000 of inventory. I would be able to push slowly and
Mhm.
get to a place where I can start making some profits.
Okay. Here is the reason I'm asking this question. Is there any way, like for example, let's just pick a number to start with. What do you think is your monthly living expenses that you need?
It would be around $10,000.
Okay. So is there any way in the process that you are trying to, obviously build this up, is there any way to scale this in the next 5 to 10 months or less, where you're at least making 10,000 a month through your own inventory and the software that you have?
No, no.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
No.
So what you're telling me, and this is what I'm trying to understand, you are saying that there is a minimum requirement for this to succeed. Is that correct?
Correct.
What is the minimum?
What is the minimum? You mean a minimum amount of money that I need in order to succeed? Is that correct?
For the project, for the business to give you income. So let me give you some scenarios here from an outsider's perspective. Okay. So the first thing which would come to my attention if I was looking at your situation, I would say, okay, you're getting $2,500 a month from selling this software to somebody and whatever service charges are, number one. And your monthly expenses are 10,000. So if I sold 4 of them, I would have 10,000 a month, right? Again,
Right.
let's not go into taxes and business and other expenses. I'm just keeping it simple, right? Okay. So if you had 4 clients and they did not take a huge amount of your time on a weekly basis, then you would at least be able to support your 10,000 a month. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the number one part. The number two part I would look at is say, okay, how much minimum inventory do I need with the turnaround, whatever I need from Amazon, to make this system working for me and profitable for me, instead of looking for an investor before I can do that. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yes.
Okay, so let's answer the first question. What would it take you to have 4 customers, 2,500 a month, to make 10,000 a month, if you were able to put the effort in to get that?
The number one issue would be time. Time is going to be a huge part, because in order for me to be able to give my software to someone, I need to invest a nice amount of time in the first or the first 2 months in order for them to be able to continue using it. So in other words, if I would find a company, because that's going to be obviously the next question, how easy it is for me to find a company. If I would look for a company, now usually, I think I did that in the past, I probably charged around $30,000 to $40,000 for setup. So from one side, it's actually more within the first 3-4 months, in order, to make a living from it.
So it's not easy to find the customers who would be willing to use your software. Number one. Number two is the amount of time it takes to actually set them up to be functional is also a problem. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
It's a problem, but it's a benefit. It's not as much as a problem because in the meantime, I make more money because of the setup. So the setup actually gives me more money. So I don't need to find that amount of clients.
Well, that's really what I'm coming from. So when I look at a business model like yours, the first thing I look at is how can you function alone to be relatively independent? Relatively is the word, okay? So that when you are looking for an investor, you are looking for a partner, they don't look at you as desperate. You understand that?
Yes.
So the place that you have to always come from in negotiation is, I don't need you. That should be your mindset. Okay. The moment your monthly expenses are being paid for, and you have other sources of income, whether it is directly or indirectly through your software, your brain is more relaxed in negotiation. Am I helping you understand the point? Right? Okay. Sure. So the reason I'm going towards all of these questions is to create in your awareness that if you could actually have that whatever $10,000 plus you need in some form or fashion, relatively speaking, less time invested as a 40, 50 hour, 80 hour work week, then when you go to negotiate, you don't come from a place of, I need money to survive and I need money to invest in the business. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, I get your point. 100% true.
Good. So tell me, how does this change the way you look at your project now?
I would say differently. If I would have had my previous job, which I just lost, I wouldn't look for an investor.
Very good point. Okay, so how can you replace that income relatively quickly with less time invested in it right now? Is there a way to do that?
One of the ways is to find another company which would like to get my services. So there's two things. But in the past, my service was more about the software. So if I do the software, I need to get them on board in order for them to do the software. And they need to be willing to buy into the software that this is how they would like to operate.
Correct.
Versus if I would find a company which would like to get my services, which I actually had one guy that I was actually talking to, actually by now it's already two, that would help me with, for the time being. So the difficult part a little bit is when I was working at this place where I work till now, I had a tough time with juggling around between the three businesses. So working there full time, plus being busy with the China and everything around it, plus being busy with my software whenever is needed. So I'm like, so juggling between the three was very difficult. And I felt also that I couldn't move fast enough to build my own business because I'm busy.
Yep.
So it's a little tough to say that would work, like completely. Meaning to say is I don't think that a full-time job for 3 to 6 to 6 to 9 months is going to make it work. But maybe yes, maybe if
but it doesn't have to see to make 10,000 a month. So I will give you an idea, which is something maybe you've already thought of, but this is the place every business which is starting out should do if they really believe in the value of what they can provide, right? At the end of the day, the only value is tangible to the person, right? Do you know what I'm talking about, right? More money, profit-wise, sales-wise, or reducing cost, something like that, which is where every company profit-wise wants to be. So let's say I'm the person who has the idea and you are potentially somebody who's looking to already leverage Amazon. Is that making sense to you?
Yes.
So let's say you already have an Amazon business, you already have something going on, and I come across your business. I'm the one, like in your shoes, you know what I'm saying? Like I have the system, I have the software, and I can help you scale or grow your business. I come to you and say, hey, Joel, you don't have to pay me anything upfront. But for every month that we have an increase compared to where you are today, you pay me 10% of that increase from today's standards. So this is April. We already know what you did in April. If you use my system, then from May onwards, every increase you have, you pay Joel 10% of the increase every month. Okay. Now again, it can be profit, it can be revenue. It just depends on the model. Okay. If I was the business owner who already had an Amazon business, was looking to scale the business, and somebody came with that proposition to me, depending on the numbers working out in, proper favor, I would say, Joel, I would do this all day long. If you help me increase my revenue, and the only way I have to pay you is from the increase in the revenue, then I will always be willing to pay that share to somebody else. Does that make sense what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Tell me more. How does that make sense or not make sense in your situation?
The increase. So let's say if you would come to me and tell me that I would need you, in other words, do an increase a lot more than I expect by myself.
Exactly.
So now I have to think if that's really the case.
Yeah.
Like if I can prove that and tell the person, yeah, you're gonna start making more money. I assume yes, but I can't say it for sure.
So let's just give you an example of a company called Kentucky Fried Chicken. Okay. So here is what Kentucky Fried Chicken. Do you know the story of Kentucky Fried Chicken? Do you know the story of Kentucky Fried Chicken?
No.
Okay. You know the company Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
I know the name, yeah.
Okay. So the person who started this company was Colonel Sanders. So here is what happened. He had a restaurant and a chicken recipe. And he really believed in his chicken recipe, and he went to 300 different restaurants. Finally, somebody said yes. And he approached the restaurant with one simple proposition. Use my chicken recipe and you make more money, you pay me from that. Okay. So one company, one restaurant said, that sounds like a great idea. They started using his recipe, and obviously you know the rest, right? Okay. So what happened was that the increase in revenue was easy to pay Colonel Sanders from that increase in revenue. So if I was in your shoes, the first question I would ask myself is there a company which fits the model that I'm looking for, which I can, with my experience, my expertise, my software, I can give them an increase and take a percentage of the increase and then use that money to, first of all, create income for yourself. But the second thing is to create a testimony of a proven system so that now I can go if I want to sell to other people, or I take more money, or I go and find another investor who has a bigger project, and then we become partners in that project. This is a sequence of actions that I'm telling you.
So the problem with that is that I am a bad sales guy.
Okay.
Meaning
So
to
what do
say
you,
is,
so are you looking for somebody to sell your services to somebody? Or are you looking for somebody to buy what you have to sell and then use in their own system?
so just to give you a little add-on, when I left the company where I was a partner in, not now, but we're talking about 2019, he still owed me money. He still paid me on a weekly basis. So I had income. At that time, I partnered with another guy. He had a small Amazon company. So I said, I'm going to be partners in your company. You're going to be partners in my software. And I had this first client, which I still use. He wanted originally to hire me. But then I said, no, I would rather want to do it on a contract basis. And it was about the first 3 months, we probably charged him $40,000. And then we did a certain percent of his increase in sales.
Perfect.
It was a small amount, a very small amount, but he had a nice increase too. So we made some profits. I would have never been able to sell the sale. I would have get lost in selling it.
Okay, so that's a separate issue. Let's focus on the main issue. The main issue is what kind of return can somebody expect from the investment they can make using your software in their business to grow it. That is the key question. You have metrics of what you can show people, give them an exact or at least an estimate enough to feel comfortable to say, hey, you know what? If your business is doing 10,000 a month, 100,000 a month, 200,000 a month, I can take you to X% growth. Do you have anything like that? Do you know what I'm asking?
I understand your question. I'm trying to answer it.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I can wait.
My issue is it depends a lot on the company. I'm just trying to figure.
But if the
Because
company is doing well, if the company has good product and they have something, they have hardworking people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, the reason why I would want them to use my software is so they're more manageable. They always, they are on time sending in stuff. So automatically, that's what I'm trying to think. What percent I could say that it's going to increase their productivity.
Because every time you go for a negotiation or for looking for an investor, this is the question they're going to ask you.
But here, we're not talking about investor. Here we are talking about, getting a client.
Either way, an investor is a client.
You call an investor a client. I see.
Yes, an investor is a client. It's still sales. It's still sales and negotiation. Nothing changes. It's just what you're expecting and they're expecting isn't just a typical I pay you, you pay me kind of arrangement, but it's still the same thing. It's still getting a client. In this, the case, the client believes enough in it to invest with you. But it's always the same relationship. It's somebody selling somebody else.
To answer the question, I could try to come up with a number without real numbers. It's a little tough to take that specific client that I did and to look at how the increase was, then I can, I can say an approximate number. That's something that I could do.
Yeah. So again, what are we trying to do? We are trying to identify who the right person is, how would they benefit, how do you benefit? You understand that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's not more complicated than that. I want to help you stay focused on those things, right? Okay. So you have written a few different things about, investing with you and what you're looking for an investor, right? Okay. The investor has to have some awareness of how to, understand, like they
What
need to,
his,
what is the
his
product
benefits
service?
are.
Yeah, what is the product service that they are selling? How will they benefit from it? Like you have done
What's the
EOS and all
potential?
that kind of stuff. So I totally understand that, but I'm not sure I fully get clarity, right? Like, for example, I see here it says this company has the potential, and which is, I think, your company you're talking about, or are you talking about company that you are going to work with?
The new company, the Amazon company.
This is your company that you are looking for investor. Once you get enough investors, this is the sales and profit you should be expecting, correct?
Right. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So for somebody to invest in you, they have to see, the simplest question is always going to be, what is your track record? Right? Okay.
Right.
If they can see the track record that you have done well, or you have done enough to show that you can take somebody's money, use it wisely, and then get the result, that's fine. But if you don't have that track record, you have to convince people on why you are the one to invest with no track record.
So, I hear you, but I would challenge that in a difference between if I want to get an investor for my Amazon company versus getting someone to use my services, to use my, not as much as my services, but as my software. It is my services. So there's two things. Let's say, for an example, the guy that I work for till now, he knew in his company that he needs someone to set up his infrastructure. He knew that his infrastructure is a disaster. So he was not looking for me that I should increase his productivity. He assumed that it's going to increase because I'm going to set him up with the right structure. Okay. So that's one way of looking at it, is more of a service to help him run his business. So when I go to someone that they should use my service, if I go more about that I could manage your company, when I approach someone, then I feel that I have to give him numbers of why it's going to benefit him that he should take me. Versus when I give services of setup company, I'm just trying to think if it's the same thing as, telling him, I could say what my track record is, what I did to other companies, how I did setups and how I ran companies. You're talking about money, how much in dollar amounts, how much they that's why I'm still confused why you call a client an investor.
Well, so let me explain the difference between the two, how I see it. So in general, a client is somebody who pays you money for whatever you provide.
Right.
Correct? An investor is paying you money for a return on investment.
Right.
So in that respect, they both are clients. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
What you
but
may be
I don't
giving
feel
one,
that I need, but I don't feel that for an investor of money versus an investor of services, I don't think that I have to give the same explanation of what benefit they're going to get. If I give services of setting up their company, they're going to have a benefit of, of structure and what they're going to gain. If I take an investor for my company, I have to show them my track record. What are they going? That's what I feel, that it's a little different. I could still show the track record of that company that I did, of how much they got an increase after setting things up. Beautiful.
Correct.
I could do that.
Yeah. So again, my point of view as client and investor was to show you that it still requires you proving the value of what people are
True.
getting.
True.
Now,
Yeah,
the
that's true.
description may be different. In one case, you're offering the service and you explain the service. In the other case, you're offering a return on investment, right?
Correct.
But it is still something that the person has to look at and saying, what am I getting for this?
Correct. Correct. Yeah,
You
that's
still
true.
have to convince them. You still have to sell them.
True.
And that's really all we are trying to say. Okay. So yeah, the client for your service may not be the same as somebody who's going to invest, but the process in your brain has to be the same for thinking in both cases, because you still have to prove to them that this is of value. In one case, you feel you have enough track record, right? You have done this before. You have the other company as a backup in terms of anybody looking for testimonies and references. Whereas in the complete investment case, you'll have to build a case for that investor to feel comfortable to say, is my money going away? Do you know what I'm saying? Right? Okay.
True.
That's the critical part about it. So what I'm trying to help you understand is to break it down into steps so that you don't build it as one thing altogether. You break it down into manageable portions for you. So the first thing is to say, okay, I have a track record of using my software for somebody to get results.
True.
Now I can use the same for somebody who wants to invest in me and then get the results through return on investment. In the other case, the other person took all the risk, right? All they paid you was for the time, investment, services that you provided, right?
Correct.
But they already had the infrastructure, they had all the details and everything else. Now you're turning around and saying to somebody, hey, I'm going to create the infrastructure, I'm going to create the profit model, and whatever I make, you get a portion of the profit based on the investment that is being made. You see that you'll have to have a higher level of ability to convince the person than somebody who's just buying your service or your software.
Correct. I get that.
So now your question should be, what can I prove to the person who is investing in me so they feel very comfortable, confident that they are going to invest and they'll get a return? Because anybody who is sensible about money is going to find ways to feel that, hey, my money is not going down the drain, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah, true.
So I asked you these questions so you start building your case. Your case is not very strong based on the answers you have provided me. You see what I'm saying?
So yeah, but I would turn it around.
Mhm.
Because why? Because so far I have not felt with the people that not as much as I approached, but I would say that I approached,
Mhm.
none of these people had an issue with trusting me and being willing to invest in me, that it's worth doing it. I don't so far.
So what is but you don't have their money?
Two things. Number one is I have to decide that that's really what I want to do.
So tell me more about that. So what is the decision to be made here? Is the decision that you are committed to your business, or is there something else that I should be aware of?
No, it's the scare of having a partner.
Okay. That's a good way to. So whenever you are scared about having a partner, first you have to ask, can I do this myself? If the answer is yes, you don't need a partner, right?
Correct.
So number one. Number two is, how can you have a clause to get rid of the partner?
Say that again.
How to have a clause to get rid of the partner. Okay, so if let's say we are agreeing to work together and you take me on as a partner / investor, then you have to have, whether it is 30 days, 60 days, 5 year, 10 year, whatever makes sense for you to buy out your partner. Does that make sense what I'm just telling you?
In theory, yes. In reality, it's a tough one.
It's not that tough if you have clear clauses, right? You know what I'm saying? If you have a clear process where you can actually buy out your investor slash partner, then yes, you still have to negotiate and work with people, but at least there is a clear strategy to it. It just depends on how
But
quickly
then I
you
have
can
to
actually
sell it.
You don't have to
That
sell
already.
it. So let me understand the situation so we don't confuse. When you have an investor and you are building a business, who are you selling to?
I mean, when the business is up and running?
Yeah. When every business sells something, right? Who do you sell to?
Consumers.
And where are the consumers?
On Amazon.
Amazon, right? Correct?
Right.
So it's very simple. You create a model, you start up and running, you sell to people on Amazon. Once you have started selling to Amazon, you start making revenue, you start making profit, and you through that portion, you can actually end up buying out your investor or partner.
Why would he be willing to let go of his partnership?
Because that's how you negotiate the starting point.
Now, why would he be willing to let go of his partnership?
Without it, you won't pick up the partner, is what I'm trying to tell you. The partner has to agree to that term before he starts, right? Again, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just giving you different scenarios to think through so you don't feel trapped in one situation. You know what I'm saying, right? So it doesn't stop you from taking the next step. So let's just revisit the whole process. The bottom line for you, the first thing is, okay, can you create a proven track record for somebody to be even interested to invest in you? You say there are people who trust you. Great. Now the question is, okay, if they trust you, they're willing to give you the money. Can you operate your business without the funding from somebody else? Now, there are two types of funding. Well, could be more than two, but at least for our conversation, there are two types of funding. One is a loan and the other is an investment. When you take a loan, you automatically can get rid of the loan by paying off the loan. You know what I'm saying, right? There is no partner, there is no investor, right?
Sure.
The second is the investor option, where obviously there is other, they have looking for ROI and whatever else. So if you're looking for, let's say, $500,000, if that's the place to start, you find somebody who's going to give you $500,000 on a certain terms and agreement as a loan. You don't have to worry about investing with somebody, taking on somebody as a partner. You just don't have to, correct? Now you have to ask yourself, is your credit worthy enough? Is the place where you can get loan at a decent enough terms that you can make profit without having to sacrifice too much of your cost? That would be the other option. If you thought of taking a loan instead of looking for an investor.
And also getting approved, obviously.
Yeah. Well, could you get approved? Could you get approved for the amount that you're looking to start with? And what do you need in minimum to start with?
So to start with,
what is the minimum you need in order to get started? Because some businesses need funding as they go, and some businesses need more funding upfront.
So this one definitely at this point needs as we go.
Okay, so how much do you need?
Right now.
How much would you? So let's just break it down. I'm just trying to help you see. My goal is very simple here. I want you to see simple steps that you can take. That's all I'm looking for. Because if I can help you take simple steps, you can achieve the solution, right? So if you need it as you go, how much would you need, say, month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4? Have you projected that?
I have to redo it. I already did it once, but I have to redo it. First of all, I have not took in account my own pay.
Yes.
Because when I did my initial projections, I did not include that I'm going to need money for myself. So that's another thing that I'm going to need to add.
Correct. Makes sense. You should, right?
right now, yes.
Okay. So give me a quick, like, what is it that you are getting from this conversation? How is this helping you?
The number one is what I'm getting out behind what you said, that I should definitely try to do it on my own instead of taking an investor, or even if I take an investor, to keep it in mind to get rid of him.
It might make sense depending on what they bring to the table, right? If they bring something that you do not have, or it's hard to find in the marketplace in terms of talent, experience, then that might be helpful. They have a connection, they have a resource that you don't have. Like you see Shark Tank as the example of, a show where people are looking for people like Mark Cuban to invest, not just because of the money, but it's because Mark Cuban has two things going for him. Number one, he has skills and experience that most people don't. Number two, he has a network of resources that you personally will not have that he does.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the original reason why I partnered with this guy that I worked for 9 months, because I had no idea about sourcing and he did. So my contract with him was that I wanted him to provide me sourcing. By the end, he only wanted to give me $250,000. Plus, he wanted to give me, he might have given me payroll for a while. Plus, but he wasn't willing to take upon himself that he's going to do the sourcing. He told me that I can use his company to do the sourcing for myself, which I was not comfortable, because I said, no, I want you to take the responsibility of it. He said, no, I don't want to work at your company. I don't want to, put my hands in there. So at that point, I was like starting to say, so what am I going to gain? I'm going to have to do the sourcing too, so I can use your company. I understand. And you gave me only $250. And you're going to be 50% partner, which he didn't want to back off. I tried to go into negotiations saying, okay, till you make back your money, you're 50% partner. After this amount of profit, you're going on to 40, then 35, till you end up staying, let's say, with the 25 because you did your initial investment. But he said, no, then it's not worth him. He only wants this. So that's why things did not work out. So I really needed more of his expertise. That's what I was looking for. I don't feel now that I do need someone with expertise.
Okay. So you need more capital than expertise.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I do need from one side, I do need an emotional partner. If I could have found somebody to work together, I would have definitely done it, because it's a lot, the way that I operate, my own self-esteem is a lot harder to make decisions than having another person. But from the other side, when I have somebody else, I fall for the other person's or ideas or challenges. That person would say, no, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done XYZ. Then I would say, oh, Taka, I have to do that, really I have to do that.
Yeah, so somebody is holding you accountable, somebody is making sure that you are following a game plan. Correct. For that, you don't necessarily need a partner. A coach will be enough, as long as you are somebody who's willing to be held accountable, right? Okay. Correct. Yeah, so that's the key, which is what I do for my clients, is to give them strategy, skills, and obviously the support they need during the process of improving their business, right? Okay, so that's just part of coaching. But the main thing that we need to focus on is, are you really, really clear on what you provide and what your investor should be looking like, so you understand their profile, and what are you going to give in return? Then you need to be clear on those three things before you can actually start negotiating with an investor or a partner or anybody like that. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? Okay. Yeah. But you have to make a case which is much more solid. Like if somebody went to, let's say, I'm trying to remember his name, but anyway, one of the famous coaches as an example, right? You went to a famous coach of a basketball team as an example, or you went to somebody like Tom Brady, who was the quarterback, And Tom Brady is going to say, hey, you know what? If you make me the quarterback of your team, your chances of winning the playoffs and actually reaching the Super Bowl and winning it are much higher. Looking at his track record, people would say, yeah, he has done this before. I can believe in him and he can do it, right? So people would buy him at any price that he says is reasonable, right? Okay. So you have to come from that perspective to be able to write down very specifically what you bring to the table. Number one, what is the exact investor looking like? And you will be as
I think
descriptive.
this is what I wrote. If
it's
you
not
want to
enough.
look at it. Why?
Not enough.
So which part is not enough?
Let me
Let's
go
look
through
at
this.
it.
Yep, I'll give you that exactly. Okay. Okay. So here is your skills, getting things done, etc., which is perfectly fine, right? You've been in the Amazon industry for some, right? Okay. So, and what did you? So in your case.
So go back up. We because you were talking about what I'm looking in an investor.
Well, three things. Number one is you. Number two is the investor. Number three is the terms, right?
Right.
Okay. So where is it? Okay. So what are the ideal characteristics? So these are humility, respect, ethics, structure. That's understandable enough, right? So in your case, this is the expert. This is what they need to have: 150,
right,
500 to 7,000 to support your wage of 150K for 18 months, 300, right? Okay. Should have past business, understand financial and growth. How much of it is related to Amazon? Some, none, how much? Anything like that?
It doesn't have to be. No, not at all.
Doesn't have to be.
No.
What kind of sector do they have to have some experience in order to be helpful to you?
Say that again.
Is there any specific experience they should have?
Not specifically. I mean, is success in business operations. They understand, how business operates. Like when I went to Mayor Gross, he has nothing to do with Amazon, but he has success in running a company.
Correct. I agree with you. Okay. And is any company?
In other words, not a real estate investor.
Correct. So I agree. So I'm saying that is any experience okay, or are you looking for some specific type of background which would be helpful to be helping you, or at least be able to appreciate you?
I hear your question. How do you call it? It's not manufacturing. It's a no, industrial. How do you call it? Running an actual operations.
Okay. Company. So you should narrow down what kind of those businesses are. Now, when you say past business experience, is it a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? How many years experience does a person have? What kind of success in terms of they have had? Have they grown $100,000, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million? What kind of background of business that they have successfully been part of?
Okay.
You need that, right? Okay.
Right.
Do they have a network? Right? What kind of network do they need to have for you to be able to benefit from it? Is there a certain market that they have network with? And they pick up the phone and call certain people and give you introductions?
No, but as I said before, I don't feel I need help in operations.
And I'm fine with that. I'm just saying that in general.
Yeah, I hear you. I need more someone that is, somebody to challenge me. Like I told you, somebody that, would have bigger ideas or different ideas than I do have, because.
But that's different. So that is not, so let's separate the two things here. I want to make sure you understand. You can find an investor who may not challenge you, but could be a good investor for you.
Correct. It could be.
Yes.
When you asked about the ideal, I can differentiate what is the must and what I would like.
Perfect. Perfect. So you're on the right track there, which is why I gave you these questions. Now, here is the idea behind anything like this. The moment we make a list like you have started, your goal should be, can I list 5, 10, 20, 30 people who fit that list? Okay.
Okay.
So let me tell you about a show. The show is called Undercover Billionaire. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, so it's on Discovery Channel, and there were 3 successful business owners who were given a challenge. This is real. This is not made up. Okay. Those 3, one was a man, Grant Cardone. The other 2, one is Elliot, I forgot. Elaine is one of the name, and the third one I forgot. Okay. So anyway, so I know Grant Cardone personally. Okay. I met him. I'm part of his training program. I'm part of his licensing system. So anyway, I know him personally. He's a billionaire. He has 2 jets and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so here is the reason I'm mentioning that. The challenge was they will be put in one place that they don't know anybody. They have never visited that place. And in 90 days, they have to start from zero without using their name, without using their connections, without using their money. And they have to create $1 million business in 90 days. Nobody knows them. Only $100 to their name and a truck. So Grant Cardone built in 90 days, $5.5 million business. Okay.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying that to you is look at his strategy of how he did that. Because this is real world scenario. This is not like in a movie theater or something, right? This is not somebody just writing a story. This is, he had to go through this to build the business. Nobody knows him. He goes to a town, builds relationships, and builds a business. So the reason I'm mentioning to you is by watching it, you'll start seeing what somebody has to go through from zero to convince other people to invest in him, and for him to show value in order to prove that he can actually create whatever he's saying they can create, right? Okay. So it's a show much worth watching for you, for everybody who's in business, because it gives us a challenging way of looking at life in general. So anyway, where I'm going with all of this is what I need you to become clear is to have you in your mind a list of people, like in this particular show, Grant Cardone says, basically finds out who is the most influential person here. They say, hey, his name is Matt Smith. He owns 7 businesses. Great. So he puts all of his energy in building relationship with Matt Smith. In your case, you have to come up with a list of 10, 20, 30, whatever that number is, that fit the criteria of who you are looking for. And then you have to go show them value so that they feel invest in you. So that's the second session that we will work on. So this gives you a place to start. Now the next one is to have a real game plan. To say, okay, Minesh, I can call these people. This is what I can tell them. And
No,
these
but
are my...
I hear you, but I still think that we have to discuss. Number one is on a personal level, should I take an investor or I'm going to get lost in an investor?
Well, the first is, do you have any options outside of that?
Okay. So that's really the first question, right?
Well, that's why I started with, can you make money and survive? That was the reason. My question was there. Because if you can't survive, then that means you need an investor. But if you can survive, which is why selling your service was one of the options I started with.
Okay, so I have actually 2 people. Okay, I think we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So I have 2 people actually.
Okay.
I actually spoke to this guy, this morning actually. So he wants like to take me from 10 to 1 and start working on the things that I did for another company. It might work. I have to think about it.
So you have the assignment now. Review what we did today. I will send you the recording and the transcripts. So go back to saying, okay, do I feel more comfortable having an investor, or am I willing to wait till I get enough cash flow and savings investments to create or find a loan in order to, get this project started? Number one. Okay, if I need an investor partner, can I break it down to 20, 30 people or less people, whatever that number is? Number three, what do I need to communicate to them? So that's where we need to go now. So you've been a good student. You've been a very good, engaging person to talk to for me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
like
I'm here to
when
support
it's
you.
challenging, not just sitting and talking. Is there a
Uh,
way that you can send me several of these questions that
Yes, I
I
will.
should break my head
Yep,
to answer them?
absolutely. You'll have them by tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
I'll send the
Thank you
recording
so
by
much.
tomorrow as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Joel,
It
it's
was
a
very
pleasure.
helpful.
I love talking to business people.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Also,
Shalom.
tell me the name again of that
I will.
what I should watch.
Undercover Billionaire.
Undercover Millionaire. Okay.
I'll send you the information.
Okay. Thank you. Bye
Sure.
bye.
Bye-bye.